Do-Won Lee couldn't sleep. The rain outside his apartment window kept hitting the glass, making soft tapping sounds. He sat at his computer, writing code like he did most nights. The bright screen lit up his small living room, while his coffee had gone cold beside his keyboard. The clock on his desk showed 2:30 a.m. Seoul was quiet at this hour, except for the rain. Do-Won liked working late because no one bothered him. No bosses calling, no meetings, just him and his computer. He was about to take another sip of his cold coffee when he heard it. 3 soft knocks on his door. Do-Won froze. He wasn't expecting anyone. Who would visit at this hour? The knocks came again, a little louder this time. He stood up slowly, his heart beating faster. Through the darkness of his apartment, he walked to the door. The security camera screen beside it showed a woman standing outside. She was wearing a long dark coat, and her hair was completely wet from the rain. "Hello," Do-Won called through the door. "Who is it?" "Please," the woman said softly. "I need help. I promise I'm not here to harm you." Her voice was strange. It had a musical quality that Do-Won had never heard before. He looked at the security screen again. The woman raised her face to the camera, and Do-Won gasped. Her skin had a soft, pearl-like shine to it, even in the dark hallway. But it was her eyes that made him step back. They seemed to glow like tiny stars, reflecting light that wasn't there. "You're afraid," she said. "That's smart. But I ran away from people who want to hurt me. I picked you because you're good with computers. I've been watching your work online. You might be the only one who can help me." Do-Won's mind was racing. He had read plenty of stories about strange visitors in the night, but those were just stories. This was real. His hand hovered over his phone, ready to call the police. "How do you know about my work?" he asked. "Your code on GitHub. The quantum computing projects. They're primitive, but interesting. Different from how we think. That's why I'm here." She coughed, a wet, painful sound. "Please, I'm cold, and I think they might have hurt me when I escaped." Do-Won looked at his phone, then at the door. His mother always said he was too trusting, but something in the woman's voice, the way she talked about his code. He made his decision. Slowly, his hands shaking a little, he unlocked the door. The woman stumbled in, dripping water on his floor. Up close, her skin wasn't just shiny. It had patterns that moved like oil on water. Her eyes really did glow, with tiny points of light that looked like distant stars. "Thank you," she said, pulling her wet coat closer. "I'm Haenul. Well, that's the closest your language can get to my name. And yes, I'm not from Earth." Do-Won closed the door quietly. His mind told him to panic, but instead, he felt strangely calm. "You're bleeding," he said, pointing to a dark stain on her side. "Yes, their weapons aren't meant to kill. Just stop us from leaving." Haenul swayed on her feet. Do-Won caught her before she fell. Her skin was ice cold. "Sit down," he said, helping her to his couch. "I'll get some towels and the first aid kit. Then you can tell me what's really going on." As he walked to his bathroom, Do-Won realized his ordinary life had just become very extraordinary. Outside, the rain kept falling, but now it seemed to be hiding them from whatever, or whoever, was looking for Haenul. He looked back at his unusual guest. She was examining his computer setup with clear interest, her star-filled eyes reflecting the screen's light. Do-Won took a deep breath. Whatever happened next, he knew his life would never be the same after this night. Do-Won returned with towels and his first aid kit. Haenul sat very still on his couch, water dripping from her coat onto the cushions. She didn't seem to mind the wound in her side anymore. Instead, she was reading the code on his computer screen with great interest. "You should take off your wet coat," Do-Won said, placing the towels next to her. "I can try to help with that injury." Haenul nodded and removed her coat. Underneath, she wore something that looked like a silver jumpsuit. The material moved like liquid metal. There was a tear in the side where a dark purple liquid, Her blood was slowly seeping out. "Your code," she said, pointing at his computer. "You're trying to solve quantum routing problems. We solved those 500 years ago, but your approach is different, creative." Do-Won pressed a clean towel against her wound. "You're really from another world, another planet." "Yes, from a place you would call HD 40,307 grams. It's about 40 light years from Earth." Haynul winced as he cleaned her injury. "My people are part of something called the Celestial Concordat. Think of it like a group of space nations." "And they hurt you? Why?" Haynul's star-like eyes dimmed slightly. "Because I disagreed with them. The Concordat believes they should control how other worlds grow and develop. They think some species develop too fast, too dangerously. They want to stop Earth's progress before humans reach the stars." Do-Won's hands stopped moving. "Stop our progress? How?" "They have technology that can slow down scientific discoveries, make people less curious, less creative. They call it preservation, but it's really more like putting an entire species to sleep." Haynul touched his computer screen gently. "Your quantum computing work would never happen. The questions would just never occur to you." Do-Won felt cold despite the warm night. "That's horrible. It's like killing part of what makes us human." "Exactly. That's why some of us are fighting back. We believe species should grow at their own pace." She looked at him directly. "I chose you because your code showed you think in ways we don't. You see different paths to the same answer. Humans are special that way." Do-Won finished bandaging her wound. The strange purple blood had already stopped flowing. "Why South Korea? Why my apartment?" Haynul smiled, and tiny lights seemed to dance across her skin. "I studied Earth's cultures. South Koreans understand both tradition and progress. You respect the old while creating the new. And you," she touched his hand, her fingers surprisingly warm, "you live alone, work late, and care about solving hard problems. Perfect for hiding a refugee." Suddenly, a bright light swept across Do-Won's windows. They both froze. "Search drones," Haynul whispered. "The Concordat must have followed my energy trail." She stood up quickly. "I should leave. I've put you in danger." Do-Won surprised himself by grabbing her arm. "No, you're hurt, and it's still raining. Those drones are probably scanning every street. You're safer here." He went to his windows and closed all the blinds. Then he turned off his computer monitor and most of the lights. In the dim room, Haynul's glowing eyes and shimmering skin provided a soft light. "Thank you," she said quietly. "But you should know, helping me is dangerous. The Concordat doesn't like humans who know too much." Do-Won thought about his ordinary life, the long hours coding, the quiet apartment, the cold coffee. Then he looked at Haynul, an alien refugee who believed in humanity's right to grow and dream. "Maybe it's time someone knew too much," he said. "You can stay. And tomorrow, you can tell me more about quantum routing problems." Haynul's smile lit up the dark room. Outside, the search drones moved away, their lights fading into the rainy night. But inside Do-Won's apartment, a small rebellion against the galaxy's most powerful alliance had just begun. A week had passed since Haynul arrived at Do-Won's apartment. She was sitting cross-legged on his living room floor, surrounded by parts from his old computers. Her wound had healed completely, leaving no scar. In her hands, she held what looked like a small crystal. "This is how we store data," she explained, holding it up to the morning light. The crystal caught the sunlight and split it into beautiful patterns on the walls. One crystal this size can hold more information than all the computers on Earth combined. Do-Won watched from his desk, amazed. He hadn't gone to work all week, telling his company he was sick. The truth was, he couldn't stop learning from Haynul. "How does it work?" he asked. "Light moves through special paths in the crystal. Each path can hold millions of different light patterns. She placed the crystal into a mess of wires she had made from his old computer parts. Watch this. The crystal began to glow, and suddenly Do-Won's TV turned on by itself. But instead of normal channels, it showed a 3D map of the galaxy. Thousands of stars filled his living room like floating lanterns. These red dots are worlds the Concordat has already preserved, Hey Newell said quietly. Many stars on the map were red. Once they preserve a world, its people stop inventing new things. They lose their desire to explore space. Some worlds have been sleeping like this for thousands of years. Do-Won stood up and walked through the star map. Earth isn't red, he noticed. Not yet. But look. Hey Newell touched the crystal, and the map zoomed in on Earth. Several large objects were moving toward their planet. These are Concordat ships. They're coming faster than we thought. We have 3 months, maybe less. What will they do when they get here? They'll release a special kind of energy into Earth's atmosphere. It affects how people think, makes them satisfied with what they have. No more dreams of space travel. No more big inventions. No more looking up at the stars and wondering what's out there. Hey Newell's star-like eyes filled with sadness. Do-Won sat down next to her. There must be a way to stop them. You said some of your people are fighting back. Newell picked up the crystal, and the star map disappeared. Yes, we have a secret network. People like me, hiding on different worlds, preparing them to resist the Concordat. But Earth is special. Why? Because humans think differently. You try new things. You fail, but you keep trying. The Concordat fears that. She smiled at him. Look how you write code. When a normal path doesn't work, you make a new one. My people would never think to do that. Suddenly, Hey Newell's crystal flashed red. She grabbed it quickly. Someone scanning this area. They must have detected the star map. Do-Won jumped up and closed all his curtains. Will they find us? No, but we need to be more careful. Hey Newell wrapped the crystal in a piece of cloth. Do-Won, I need to tell you something important. The resistance. We're not just hiding. We're building something. A way to fight back. And we need human creativity to make it work. Do-Won looked at her seriously. What do you need me to do? First, we need to meet someone. Another human who's helping us. He knows more about Earth's defenses. Hey Newell stood up. But once you meet him, there's no going back. The Concordat will know you're helping us. Do-Won thought about his normal life. His comfortable job, his quiet apartment, his simple routine. Then he thought about a future where humans never reached the stars, never created anything new, never dreamed big dreams. I want to help, he said firmly. When do we meet this person? Hey Newell's skin shimmed with relief. Tonight. His name is Tai Yang, and he's been preparing for this his whole life. The night was warm as Do-Won, and Hey Newell walked through the quiet streets of Seoul. Hey Newell wore a long coat with a hood to hide her glowing eyes and shimmering skin. They were heading to meet Tai Yang at a small coffee shop that stayed open late. Your friend, Hey Newell said softly as they walked. How much does he know about space? Do-Won smiled. Tai Yang has believed in aliens his whole life. He runs a popular blog about UFOs and government secrets. Everyone thinks he's crazy, but he's actually very smart. As they turned a corner, a black car drove slowly past them. Hey Newell pulled Do-Won into a shadow until it passed. Government agents, she whispered. They've noticed the energy signals from my crystal. We must be careful. The coffee shop was small and dark, with only a few customers inside. In the back corner sat a man with messy hair and thick glasses, typing on a laptop. He looked up as they approached, and his eyes went wide when he saw Hey Newell. Do-Won, Tai Yang said, his voice shaking with excitement. When you called, I thought you were joking, but she's actually. Yes, Hey Newell said, sitting down. I'm really not from Earth, and we need your help. For the next hour, they talked in quiet voices. Newell explained about the Concordat and their plans for Earth. Ta Yang typed everything into his laptop, his fingers moving faster and faster. "I knew it," he said, trying not to shout. "I've been tracking weird signals in space for months. And last week, something big entered our solar system." "The Concordat's advanced ships," Newell nodded. "They're setting up stations around your solar system. Soon they'll—" She stopped talking suddenly. Through the coffee shop window, they saw another black car park across the street. Two men in dark suits got out. "Government agents," one whispered. "The same car from before. They must have followed us." Tai Yang closed his laptop quickly. "There's a back door through the kitchen. I know the owner." They stood up casually and walked toward the back of the shop. One saw the agents enter through the front door. One of them was looking at a device in his hand that was blinking rapidly. "They have energy detectors," Newell said as they hurried through the kitchen. "My crystal gives off a signal they can track." They ran out into a dark alley behind the coffee shop. The night air was filled with the sounds of the city. Cars, distant music, people talking. Perfect for hiding. "My apartment is close," Tai Yang said. "We can hide there. I have something to show you anyway, something I've been working on." They walked quickly through back streets and small alleys. Newell kept looking over her shoulder, but the agents hadn't followed them. Finally, they reached a tall apartment building. Tai Yang's apartment was filled with computers, strange machines, and papers covered in numbers and diagrams. On one wall was a large map marked with red dots. "These are all the places where I detected alien signals," he explained proudly. "I've been preparing for this my whole life. Look at this." He pulled out a box from under his desk. Inside was a device that looked like a mixture of Earth and alien technology. "I found pieces of a crashed alien ship last year," he said. "I've been trying to understand how it works. Maybe you can help, Newell." Newell picked up the device carefully. Her eyes grew wide with surprise. This is perfect. This is exactly what we need." "What is it?" One asked. "It's part of a communication system," she said. "With this, we can contact other resistance members on Earth. We're not alone. There are more people like us, preparing to fight back." One looked at his two friends, an alien refugee and a UFO blogger who turned out to be right all along. Maybe Earth had a chance after all. 3 days after meeting Tai Yang, One woke up to find Newell staring at her crystal with a worried look. The crystal was pulsing with a deep red light, something he had never seen before. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows of Tai Yang's apartment, where they had been hiding since escaping the government agents. "What's wrong?" One asked, sitting up from his makeshift bed on the couch. "A message from the resistance," Newell said quietly. "It's bad news." She touched the crystal, and a hologram appeared in the air. Strange symbols floated and changed, like a language made of moving light. Tai Yang came out of his room, still wearing his pajamas. "Those symbols, I've seen something like them before in crop circles. They're the common language of the Concordat," Newell explained. She looked even paler than usual. "The message says they've changed their plans. The Concordat ships aren't coming in 3 months. They're coming in 2 weeks. One felt his stomach drop. 2 weeks? Why so soon? They detected our communication signals. They know we're preparing to resist. Newell's star-like eyes dimmed. They're sending their biggest ships. They want to make Earth sleep before we can stop them. Suddenly, all the computers in Tai Yang's apartment started beeping at once. Red warnings flashed on every screen. "Someone's tracking the message," Tai Yang shouted, running to his main computer. "They're zeroing in on our location." Newell grabbed her crystal and shut off the hologram. "We need to leave. Now. The Concordat has agents on Earth, humans who work for them. They'll be coming for us." They quickly grabbed their most important things. Newell's crystal, Tai Yang's alien device, and One's laptop. As they rushed to the door, They heard heavy footsteps coming up the stairs. "The fire escape," Tai Yang said, pointing to his window. "I use it to watch for UFOs sometimes." They climbed out onto the metal stairs just as someone started pounding on Tai Yang's front door. Do-won looked down and saw more men in black suits entering the alley below. "Up," Hae-Newell whispered. "To the roof." They ran up the fire escape, the metal shaking under their feet. When they reached the roof, they could hear shouting from Tai Yang's apartment. The agents had broken in. "Now what?" Do-won asked, looking around the empty roof. They were trapped. Hae-Newell pulled something small from her pocket. It looked like a silver marble. "Emergency transport device. I was saving it for something really bad." She held it up, and it started to glow. "It can take us somewhere safe, but it only works once. Are you sure you want to come with me? After this, you can never go back to your normal lives." Do-won looked at Tai Yang, who nodded without hesitation. He thought about his comfortable job, his quiet apartment, his simple life. Then he thought about the whole world falling into a deep sleep, never reaching for the stars again. "We're with you," Do-won said firmly. They could hear the agents reaching the roof access door. Hae-Newell squeezed the silver marble, and it burst into bright light. The last thing Do-won saw was the morning sun rising over Seoul before the light wrapped around them like a warm blanket. When the agents broke through the door, the roof was empty. Only a small scorch mark showed where 3 people had stood moments before. The rebellion to save Earth had truly begun. The bright light faded, and Do-won found himself standing in a large underground room. His head felt dizzy from the transport, but he could see computers, strange machines, and maps covering the walls. The room was filled with people, some human, some clearly alien like Hae-Newell, all working together. "Welcome to the Resistance base," said a strong voice. A tall woman walked toward them. She had the same shimmering skin as Hae-Newell, but her eyes glowed red instead of starlight white. "I'm Sunhai. Well, that's my Earth name. My real name is impossible for humans to say." Next to her stood a human man with kind eyes and gray hair at his temples. "I'm Minho," he said with a warm smile. "Former South Korean military. Now I help coordinate our defense plans." Tai Yang looked around the room with wide eyes. "This is amazing. How long has this been here?" 5 years, Minho answered. "We built it under an old subway station. The concrete shields our energy signals from detection. We have bases like this all around the world." Hae-Newell showed them her crystal. "The Concordat is coming in 2 weeks. We need to speed up our preparations." Sunhei nodded seriously. "We saw the message. Come, let me show you what we're building." She led them through a door into an even larger room. In the center stood something that looked like a massive satellite dish, but it was made of crystals similar to Hae-Newell's. Blue energy pulsed through it like blood through veins. "This is our defense system," Sunhai explained. "It can redirect the Concordat's sleep energy back to their ships, but we're having trouble making it work properly. The crystals don't respond to our thinking patterns the way they should." Do-won walked closer to the machine. "What do you mean, thinking patterns?" "Our technology is connected to how we think," Hae-Newell explained. "But humans think differently. That's why we need you. Your creative ways of solving problems might be exactly what we need." Minho pointed to a complex diagram on a nearby screen. "The defense system needs to protect the whole Earth, but we can't figure out how to make it cover everywhere at once. The calculations are too complex." Do-won looked at the diagram carefully. It reminded him of a computer networking problem he had solved at work. "Maybe we're thinking about this wrong," he said slowly. "Instead of one big shield, what if we made lots of small ones that work together? Like a network of computers sharing the load." Sunhai's red eyes grew brighter with interest. That's not how we would think to do it. Our people always try to make one perfect solution, but many small solutions working together." She turned to Hae-Newell. "This is why you brought him, isn't it?" Hae-Newell smiled proudly. Humans see patterns we miss. They find new paths we wouldn't think to look for. Tai Yang was already typing on a nearby computer. I can help plot the coverage areas. I've been mapping strange energy signals all over Earth for years. We can use those points to place the smaller shields. Minho put his hand on Do-Won's shoulder. This could work, but we'll need more help. More humans who can think creatively, who aren't afraid to try new ideas. How can we find them? Do-Won asked. The government is looking for us, and the Concordat has spies everywhere. Sun Hai picked up Haenul's crystal and connected it to a larger crystal in the wall. A map of the world appeared, with hundreds of glowing dots. These are all people who have noticed something strange happening. People like Tai Yang, who look up at the stars and ask questions. We need to reach them before the Concordat does. Do-Won looked at the map, then at his new allies, humans and aliens working together to keep Earth's dreams alive. Then let's get started. We have 2 weeks to save the world. 1 week had passed since Do-Won's idea about the network of small shields. The underground base was now full of activity day and night. Humans and aliens worked side by side, racing against time to protect Earth. Do-Won sat at a computer terminal, his fingers moving quickly over the keyboard. He was writing code to help the crystal shields work together. Next to him, Haenul watched the strange symbols appear on his screen with growing excitement. I don't understand how you do that, she said, pointing to his code. You're mixing our crystal technology with Earth's computer systems in ways we never thought possible. The Concordat would say it's dangerous. Do-Won took a sip of his coffee, remembering his old late nights of coding in his apartment. Why dangerous? Sun Hai walked over, her red eyes glowing with interest. Because it's unpredictable. Our people like things to be perfect and controlled. But humans, you try things just to see what happens. You make mistakes and learn from them. You change and grow. On the other side of the room, Tai Yang was working with Minho to map the best locations for the shield network. They had contacted resistance groups all over the world, and more people were joining every day. That's why the Concordat fears humans so much, Minho said, looking up from his work. You don't just accept things as they are. You always ask what if, and why not. They think that makes you dangerous, but we think it makes you special. Suddenly, all the crystals in the room began to pulse with red light. Haenul rushed to the main crystal display. The Concordat ships have entered the solar system. They're moving faster than we expected. Everyone gathered around the large screen showing Earth and the approaching ships. There were 5 massive vessels, each one bigger than any spacecraft humans had ever built. How much time do we have? Do-Won asked. 4 days, Sun Hai answered grimly. They'll reach Earth in 4 days. Do-Won looked at his unfinished code, then at the tired faces around him. Some were human, some alien, all working together to save Earth's future. Then we work faster. Tai Yang, how many shield locations do we have ready? 50 so far, Tai Yang answered, pulling up a map covered in glowing dots. We need at least 100 for full coverage. Minho stepped forward. I've contacted more military friends who want to help. They can secure the remaining locations, but the shields won't work without your code. Do-Won. Do-Won turned back to his computer. The mixture of alien and human technology on his screen reminded him of his late-night coding sessions, trying to solve impossible problems. But this time, he wasn't just writing code for fun. He was writing it to save everything humans could become. Haenul, he said, you told me humans think differently. We see new paths. Well, I think I see one now. He began typing faster, the code flowing from his fingers like a river. The Concordat thinks our creativity makes us dangerous. Let's show them how right they are. Around him, the resistance members returned to their work with renewed energy. Humans and aliens together, preparing to fight for Earth's right to dream, create, and reach for the stars. In 4 days, they would face the most powerful force in the galaxy. But they had something the Concordat didn't understand: the power of human imagination and the strength of working together. The day the Concordat arrived, the sky turned purple. Their 5 massive ships hung over Earth like dark moons, blocking out the sun in many places. In the underground base, Do-1 and his friends watched on their screens as the ships took position around the planet. "They're spreading out to cover all continents," Minho said, pointing to the map. "Just like we predicted." Hanul stood next to Do-1 at the main control station. Her crystal glowed brightly as it connected to their network of shields. "They're preparing to release the sleep energy. Once it starts, we'll have only minutes to activate our defense. All shield locations report ready," Tai Yang called from his station. He had dark circles under his eyes from days without proper sleep, but his voice was strong. 112 points around the world, all connected and waiting. Sun He's red eyes flashed as she received messages from other resistance bases. The Concordat is broadcasting their usual message. They're telling Earth's governments that they're here to help, to preserve our culture. On the main screen, they could see some of the message. The Concordat ships were sending images of peaceful worlds, promising to protect Earth from the dangers of too much progress. Many world leaders were already responding, ready to accept the Concordat's offer. "They don't understand what they're giving up," Do-1 said quietly. He looked at his completed code on the screen. It wasn't perfect. He'd had to write it in just 4 days. But it was creative and unexpected, just like humanity itself. "Are we ready?" Hanul nodded. "The Concordat ships are opening. They're about to release the sleep energy." The purple sky grew darker as streams of silver light began pouring from the Concordat ships. The light looked beautiful, almost like gentle rain, but they all knew its true purpose: to slowly put humanity's dreams to sleep. "Now," Sun He shouted, "activate the shield network." Do-1 pressed the final key on his keyboard. Around the world, the 112 shield points activated at once. But instead of creating shields as the Concordat would expect, they did something entirely different. Hanul watched in amazement as Do-1's code took effect. The shields aren't just blocking the energy. They're catching it, changing it, sending it back. On their screens, they could see the silver light hitting their shield points. But instead of spreading across Earth, the light was being pulled into the crystals. Do-1's code was using the Concordat's own energy, transforming it through human-designed pathways in the crystals and shooting it back into space. The Concordat ships tried to adjust, to change their attack. But they had never seen anything like this before. They couldn't understand how their own technology was being used in such an unexpected way. "Look!" Tai Yang pointed excitedly at the main screen. The silver light was now flowing backward, surrounding the Concordat ships in their own sleep energy. The massive ships began to drift, their lights flickering. "Their crews are falling asleep," Sun Hai explained with a satisfied smile. "They never thought their own weapon could be turned against them. They never imagined humans would think to use it this way." The purple sky began to clear as the Concordat ships retreated, moving slowly like drowsy giants. They disappeared into space, leaving Earth's sunshine bright and clear once again. The base erupted in cheers. Humans and aliens hugged each other, celebrating their victory. But Hanul touched Do-1's arm gently. "This isn't over," she said softly. "The Concordat will be back, with new ways to try to control Earth. But now they know something important." "What's that?" Do-1 asked. "They know that humans are more powerful than anyone thought. Not because you're stronger or more advanced, but because you see possibilities that no one else can imagine." 3 months had passed since the Concordat's retreat. Do-1 stood on the roof of a new building in Seoul, watching the sunset with Hanul beside him. The building looked like a normal office from the outside, but inside it was the first official Earth Concordat Relations Center. "I still can't believe how much has changed," Do-1 said, looking at the city below. "A few months ago, I was just writing code in my apartment. Now Earth knows about aliens, and I'm helping design systems for talking to other worlds." Haynul's star-like eyes sparkled in the fading light. The Concordat had to accept that they couldn't put Earth to sleep. Your victory made them see that there are different ways for civilizations to grow. The door to the roof opened, and Taiyang rushed out excitedly. "They're ready for the first official transmission. Come on." They followed him down to a large room filled with screens and crystal technology. Minho and Sunhai were already there, working at the main control station. The crystals hummed with energy as they powered up the new communication system. "Remember when they thought my blog was crazy?" Taiyang said proudly, looking at his old UFO research displayed on one wall. "Now I'm Earth's expert on alien communications." Minho smiled as he adjusted some controls. "The military still can't believe we're using a combination of Earth computers and alien crystals. They wanted to do everything their own way, but we showed them that working together makes us stronger." "The transmission is starting," Sunhai announced. Her red eyes glowed as she activated the main crystal. "The reformed Concordat Council is waiting to speak with us." The largest screen came to life, showing a group of beings from different worlds. Some looked almost human, others were very different, but all had come to talk about working together instead of controlling each other. Do-One stepped forward with Haynul. They had been chosen to speak for Earth because they had shown how humans and aliens could understand each other. Haynul had taught Do-One about the stars, and he had shown her the power of seeing things in new ways. "Greetings, Council," Haynul said formally. "Earth is ready to join the galactic community. Not as a world to be preserved, but as a world that will help all of us grow." Do-One looked at the alien faces on the screen. "We know we're young compared to your civilizations. We make mistakes, but that's how we learn. That's how we create new things and find new paths forward." The council members spoke among themselves. Then the head counselor replied, "Earth has shown us that there is strength in being different. The Concordat will no longer try to make all worlds the same. Instead, we will learn from each other." After the transmission ended, Do-One and his friends gathered near the window. The first stars were appearing in the darkening sky, but they didn't seem so far away anymore. "What happens next?" Taiyang asked, still taking notes on his laptop. "We keep building bridges," Sunhai said, putting her hand on his shoulder. "Between humans and aliens, between different ways of thinking. That's how we all grow stronger." Minho nodded. "And we stay ready. There will always be some who fear change and want to control others. But now Earth knows how to protect itself." Haynul turned to Do-One with a warm smile. "Speaking of building bridges, remember when I knocked on your door that rainy night? I was looking for someone who could help save Earth. Instead, I found someone who helped change the galaxy." Do-One took her hand, feeling the slight shimmer of her alien skin against his. Above them, the stars twinkled with new possibility. Earth was awake, aware, and ready to reach for the future. Not alone, but hand in hand with friends from across the stars.